Analytical sample and standards preparation are both done pretty much the same way now as when I started over 30 years ago. But when you think about it, the instruments, the software, and the auto samplers have all come such a long way, but getting the sample and standards to the instrument in a more efficient way hasn't really kept pace with other innovations. So when it comes to preparing our samples and standards, we need to be a bit smarter on the way we work. Hi, I'm Jared Sharp, and I'm here to introduce you to the ePrep Workstation. So the purpose of this short demonstration is to show you the ePrep Workstation and its capabilities, and how easy it is to create a workflow, and then we'll see the ePrep in operation. I'm going to show you how to set up for the preparation of a single standard, and then I'll extend this to a range of working standards. The approach that you will learn in this demonstration to automate a method can be used for a wide range of applications, for example, labour-intensive environmental methods. There are many environmental methods based on US EPA methods used throughout the world, and the protocols of these methods are tedious for both sample and standard preparation. The standard operating procedures for these methods will vary from lab to lab, but there will be intermediate standards and standards prepared for a working level range, possibly up to 8 concentrations. And some labs will even have to prepare another set of working standards at a lower working range. So manual preparation is time-consuming and boring, and it relies on the skill of the operator for precision and accuracy. As we'll see in this demonstration, the ePrep is able to automate these procedures for reliable, reproducible, and unattended operation. Before we get to the ePrep, let's consider some of the issues with manual preparation, which is the norm in labs. There is typically poor reproducibility from operator to operator, and especially using the same method from lab to lab. The operator needs to be trained, and generally the technician in this position will not be there for very long because they are either promoted or, worse still, they could leave the company. So if that happens, you have to get a new operator and retrain them. With manual methods, there are health and safety concerns because we're using organic solvents, and even some of the target analytes themselves can be toxic. And this is the big one. If the standards are not prepared correctly the first time, we won't know until we are looking at the data coming off the instrument. And this could be maybe a day, even longer away. So instrument time therefore has been wasted before the standards are prepared and run again. So rework is both time-consuming and very expensive to do. The first step with the ePrep is creating a workflow. And we do this through the ePrep software, which is tablet-based, intuitive, and very easy to use. First of all, we create a task. Then we choose an input file, and then we choose an output file. For example, a starting task for a standard preparation workflow would be to create a task to add 750 microliter volume of diluent from a solvent container to a 2 ml vial. This would be followed by adding a second task of adding 100 microliters of a 200 ppm standard to the same 2 ml vial, followed by the final task of making the volume up to 1 ml to give a final concentration of 20 parts per million. There is a lot of inbuilt functionality in the software, making it very easy for the user. For example, all volumes in the software are validated. So what this means is the software checks to ensure there is enough diluent in the diluent container to cover all the standards specified in the workflow. And there are also many checks in the software. For example, if you accidentally try to aliquot 1 microliters of a solution, but with a selected syringe of 1,000 microliters, the software knows this is not good practice and will alert you. The creation of the workflow is a one-off task and can of course be used again and again. This particular example workflow was created in about 15 minutes. So let's have a look at the ePrep in operation after the workflow has been built and saved. The ePrep selects the 1000 microliter syringe, moves to the diluent container, withdraws 750 microliters of solvent, and dispenses this into a 2 ml vial. The next step is the syringe moves to a 200 ppm standard container, withdraws 100 microliters of solution, and dispenses this into the same 2 ml vial. The third and final step is the volume is made up to 1 ml for a final concentration of 20 parts per million. The syringe can then be washed in a washing station or washed specifically with an organic solvent. The 2 ml vial is now ready to be transferred directly to the instrument's autosampler. This is a very simple workflow, but it is easily expandable to include multiple vials. I have adjusted the workflow to include a total of 5 vials, all receiving diluent. The other 4 vials will receive an increment of 10 microliters of the stock standard of 200 ppm, making the working range 20 to 28 ppm. You can also see here the racks are very configurable, and selection of the nominated vials is straightforward. Watching the ePrep in operation now, you can see how the ePrep can easily automate what would otherwise be a very labour-intensive and boring task, and it will do it the same way every time. I'm watching this, but of course I don't need to be here. In fact, this could be running in the middle of the night and the standard's ready for me when I arrive for work the next morning.